How are you doing, Minister? Thank you so much for making the time.
Most welcome. Hello to you and to everyone who's with us from the Parliament. Happy to be part of this conversation.
Now, you bring a certain level of energy and visibility to the ministries that you're involved in. How important do you think that visibility is to the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government at this particular time?
I'm very pleased that the Prime Minister has allowed me the opportunity to be in the saddle for Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government. Why? To me, it is one of the most critical issues for us at this point in our nation. Yes, we're speaking about local government reform, but we're also speaking about operationalization and transformation. The key in terms of visibility and connection is in allowing people to see where we as citizens fit in all of this. Do we feel safe by our municipal police working? Do we feel secure by beautiful landscapes and structures? Do we feel that our public health is working in our best interests? Do we feel that the $2.4 billion that we spend every year in local government is bringing us the value for money that we expect? Do we feel that 80% of our road networks, which this ministry manages, is in a condition that we want ourselves to be comfortable on? That's the transformation side of what we're doing. So yes, I'm very pleased to bring together a wonderful team. We have a lot of superstars that I found in this ministry that my predecessor kept in good form and structure. And I'm very pleased that the opportunity is now, with local government reform coming into operationalization, that we get to step up and step out.
And that operationalization and that personal responsibility are some of the things that we want to speak about in a little later, as well as that 80% figure that you just quoted. But hashtag WeCleanTT, what's the inspiration for that campaign?
Well, the other side of the hashtag is hashtag I am LG. I am local government, where everybody is local government. So what we're doing right now, we're really surveying TNT. The cleanup is a secondary factor of what we're doing. You can't respectfully manage something unless you can measure what you're going to manage. How do I manage the output of the corporation staff? We have 29,000 employees under this ministry's hand. Let me repeat that, 29,000 employees. We have $2.4 billion per annum being spent. What is critical right now is to make sure that we can see expenditure in a very real way. So in the survey side of what we're doing, we're checking every road, every river, all embankments, empty lots and spaces. And what we're doing is we're identifying how our local government reform can work in the context of what it really is. Are the roads part of the corporation? Are the play parks part of the corporation? I'll give you an example of what I mean here, putting it into real terms. This weekend, we were in Streatham Lodge Cemetery. It's 22 acres of a cemetery. That's the size of the borough of Arima. 22 acres. It took me 230 CPEP employees in that cemetery to make sure that the grass was reduced down to proper height. In some areas, it was 16 feet tall. It's not that the corporation was not spending its money there, but in a corporation of that size, where one cemetery is the size of the borough of Arima, you have to make sure that the geographical identification matches with allocation. So that's what I mean by survey. In the surveying aspects, we've demonstrated that there are 22 years of roads and play parks and structures that have not been brought onto the books of the corporation. So very often people say, well, my small issue is the maintenance of this road. I can't get collection services on this road. And the answer is because it's not owned by the corporation, because the last vesting exercise was 22 years ago. So this is what I mean by survey and structure. Do we have the managers in place? A huge part of what we're doing is digitizing the ministry. In digitizing the 18 bodies, 14 corporations, CPEP, Rural Development Company, Municipal Police, the ministry itself, what we're doing is we're reducing the time it takes for paper to find itself 6 months later on somebody's desk. which means that we get a
this
more immediate outcome.
And this feels kind of par for the course for you, Minister, in the sense that your track record, it seems as though you like to operate from a position of data, informing your policy and your implementation. You're at it again. Now, what are some of those things that you really are saying, okay, well, these are the things that we want to find out first in terms of whether or not you want to call them low-hanging fruit, but the things that you want to work on, start implementing in that first phase as quickly as possible?
Well, what we're doing is we're building the plane while we're flying it. So there's no first phase. It's exactly as I did in the Attorney General and Legal Affairs Division, where in 2015, where you found the courts operating on paper and structures and now to virtual environments. The Ministry of Legal Affairs used to see 15,000 people in person every 3 days. Now they see 500 because we took services online. So it's a matter of transposing exactly this formula into local government. And to answer your question squarely, 1, information technology operationalization. 2, reorganizing the processes for engineering and projects and planning. 3, communications, because everybody can tell you they have a small issue that's not being attended to. So opening up the doors on two-way communication, my small issue against your small issue in a whole. So it's not one street light that's blown. It may be 100,000. What's the cost of the 100,000? Where do I stand in the lineup to get TNTech to get that service done? So that's communications. The other structure is human resources. In the human resources, you need to have people in managerial positions so that you're sure that your staff is operating. Are our corporation officers and workers, daily paid, monthly paid, are they being managed against a task? And then the last aspect, of course, is the local government reform that wraps up all of that together. All of this is going on at the same time. And our data, remember, our information technology is tied into digitization. So we are at the point of launching our apps, which is where you can communicate your issues. You know who has your issue, how long it has been on his or her desk, and when your line of sight is coming. And that way people can get accustomed to saying, well, okay, I can see my dollars working for me because I feel better in the situation. Part of this is taking our local government reform into the municipal police reform, where community policing is part of what we do. We have 1,500 officers identified in municipal police. Are we treating with domestic violence in communities? Are we treating with eyes everywhere by using CCTV evidence? And I'm pleased to say that's exactly why we operationalized our evidence amendments, something which I had the pleasure of doing when I was Attorney General. Turning that on meant I can use CCTV evidence now and not have a physical body there. And that physical body can now go to checking domestic violence issues or checking land issues and community policing. So it's a lot of overlap all at once.
And in terms of that overlap, I like the fact that you made the distinction between information and communication, because sometimes one person may have the information or the information is there, like you said, on someone's desk, but that doesn't mean that it's getting to where it's supposed to do. The things that are supposed to happen with that information are not happening. So in terms of getting individuals to buy in, be informed, to realize that I am local government, I have a part to play. And so they're less, and you gave an example, I want to give an example. Working towards having less people demonstrating, possibly burning tires and calling the name of their MP for a road that is supposed to be under the care of local government or the regional corporation. Where are we on that in terms of helping to share that and spread that information and say, okay, well, this is the body that has responsibility for this?
Well, you've hit the nail on the head. So transparency of information and communication are two factors that you have to blend. The first thing first is, who am I? What do I do? Where do I find it? That is what local government needs to bring itself into and what we're doing right now. So in our communication, a two-way communication structure, you'll be able to turn on to see which road belongs to whom. Which corporation does it belong to? Is it Ministry of Works and Transport? Is it an HDC development? Is it a private development? That now brings in accountability. But Trinidad and Tobago is going to have to make a few big decisions. Are we prepared to spend and track value for money? Because remember, services cost. So do we tie this into the cost of road development? Are we going to go for short term, medium term, or long term? Are we going to go for full subsurface? So right now, part of our service and survey campaign involves identifying alternative techniques to repairs. There was a video that made very quick circulation about a company in England that drives along patching potholes by spraying onto the road and then rolling it over. Ideas like that transpose themselves into our solutions as a short-term fix. Do we go subsurface as a longer term? So our survey campaign is going to produce an open book for all of Trinidad and Tobago to see where we stand. It's kind of like looking at Trinidad and Tobago as an island at night from way up in the sky and turning on the lights. You'll be able to see what areas are dark, what areas are lit, and therefore you know what issues look like.
And in terms of elucidating, shining that light, we're going to continue when we return from this break. Stay with us. We come back with more.
For generations, hard work and good advice have been essential. So when hard work gives me tough pain, I rely on Panadol Ultra that relieves fast 5 types of tough pain. Take good advice. Take Panadol Ultra. For pain relief, we have a Panadol for you. Take good advice. Take Panadol.
I am Pedro Lozama, and I will be at Suite 100 FM Jazz, a fusion of our music and culture. Go online or to any of our advertised outlets to share in the sweet celebration of our Trinidadian heritage. Do that now.
Thank you so much. We are going in depth on the work of the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government with its line, Minister Faris Al-Rawi. And Minister, I wanted to ask what influences the rollout in terms of the cleanup campaign. Is it that some regional corporations, they would be a little more prone to factors like flooding? Is that one of the things that you'll look at when you say, okay, well, this is where we're going to be working next? How does that happen?
So it's remember, it's cleanup and survey. It's really survey and cleanup. And the influence is, of course, geography, resource allocation, and where we stand in the climatic experience. We're now into the rainy season. So we did Diego Martin Regional Corporation, Port of Spain City Corporation, we did Siparia Regional Corporation, we did Pinal Debe Regional Corporation, and this weekend gone, we did Tunapuna Regional Piaco Corporation. We have moved thousands of truckloads, thousands of recyclable items such as tires, cars. We've gone into, umpteen drains, umpteen rivers, cleared lots, etc. So it's been a phenomenal work product. But coming out of that, we now walk away with, okay, how do we make this sustainable? What we did is we clustered assets. So we took Port of Spain assets, Diego Martin assets, Sanwal assets, Grandi assets, Tunapuna assets, and brought them into Diego Martin. So that's called a cluster approach. We added CPEP and volunteerism into that. When you take that cluster, you'll realize that the data will demonstrate that for this to be sustainable, we have to do this in a quarterly or half-yearly rollout. And that's where we're getting to. Trinidad and Tobago also needs to understand that we have individual responsibility because this costs. Is it sustainable to throw your fridge in the road? Is it sustainable to just throw tires outside? Is it sustainable to just live next to an empty lot of land bordering your property when you can spend at least 2 feet extra into a vacant lot to arrange ourselves? I can tell you, rural Trinidad and Tobago with larger landscapes tends to be better maintained than some of the urban areas. And that is a mentality that we need to address. So that data feeds back into our school systems. It ties into our sustainable developmental goals. It ties into getting our society into a mindset of maintenance, preservation, and beauty. Coming out of this, we're going to be engaging the private sector for look and feel. Why do we want to look and feel a particular way? So look and feel is a big takeaway from this campaign. What's the future of how we want to look and feel? A big part of local government reform is replicating the Tobago House of Assembly model. And in the Tobago House of Assembly model, you look and feel a particular way in Tobago. Grass is kept because money is spent, resources are identified, and therefore you look and feel a different way in Tobago. What I can tell you, the after effect of the 5 corporations that we've been in is that the look and feel is tremendously good. The sustainability of keeping it that way is what we're on. And we'll know how much it costs in each area. And therefore, going forward, do I, as a citizen, want to pay my property tax for that look and feel? Because I can see where my tax-paying dollars are going to. Do I, as a taxpayer, feel comfortable that in paying corporation workers, I'm seeing the result of the corporation workers at work? CPEP is a huge hero in this country. They perform extremely well, and there's a sense of great pride in the work that they do. Replicating that pride is the key function inside of here in the corporations across the board.
And in terms of that look and feel and the mindset that you're speaking about, I want to ask about responsibilities. The line ministry's responsibility versus the regional corporation. So like you just itemized some of the corporations, the regional corporations, where the survey and cleanup campaign would have taken place. And so Kwesi Robinson, because he is a little more out there than some, he was front and center, he was posting and people were seeing what was happening. Is it more the responsibility of the line ministry, or what describe the partnership that is happening for the survey and the cleanup campaign? Thank you.
So by now you kind of know I have a style. My style is energy. I like to energize situations with data and to bring decks on board. We've had a phenomenal response from red and yellow corporations, if I can put it that way. Everybody in the councillor level and the MP level are interested in servicing their communities. It's the coordination of resources that is the key. So the responsibility from the ministry end to the corporation end, a lot of it is the coordination of plant and machinery, people, and processes. So clustering 4 and 5 corporation assets into one every quarter is a coordination issue that the ministry is capable of conducting. The ministry has responsibility for CPEP. Therefore, clustering CPEP assets, remember I told you, 22 acres in one cemetery, 230 CPEP workers. That can't happen unless the ministry backs that project. So data analysis shows what you need to perform a task. And therefore, the coordination of the mind and management of the ministry is what makes the difference inside of this. Unfortunately, there are a lot of very hardworking people across local government. I salute all of them in this interview here. And I can tell you that it is a joy to be out on the field every single week in engaging in these communities to get the traction that people feel, look and feel differently about themselves and their communities.
And I'm really glad that you're able to speak to the kind of bipartisan nature of this engagement, because after everything is said and done, things are supposed to be done for the people. And I want to go back to the analogy of you talking about building the plane while flying it, and ask, what is the Secondary Road Rehabilitation and Improvement Company Limited, and how does that factor into the flight of this plane at this point in time?
So it's a big part because the secondary roads are 80% of the network. But that's 80% 22 years ago, it may be more. I'm on a survey campaign to vest assets, because there's a concept called an orphan road or an orphan field or an orphan park. It belongs to no one. So that identification, 22 years of vesting still has to come onto the books. And I'm aggressively pursuing that right now. So it may be about 85% of your road networks. What we're doing right now from the ministry's end is we're coordinating how we service those things. What is the typology? Is it just a pothole to be repaired? Is it drainage and pothole? Is it road surfacing? Is it subsurfacing? Is it soft soil versus hard soil? Is it road failure because of slippage, because of mass movement? Now, in that campaign, the ministry's coordination with the Ministry of Agriculture is a huge part. Works and transport is a huge part, because planting teak, mahogany, apamat, trees where you get roots going down 30 feet makes a difference in stopping mass land movement so that surfaces don't shift. Because you can fix a road on the surface all you want. If the soil is moving in a mass movement way, you're going to have a collapse and failure. So vegetation, road embankment, those structures are where this company comes in. That company is initially capitalized by $100 million, but $100 million spread across all of Trinidad and Tobago only takes you to start. So this is where the surveying side comes in, because if you go to the North Coast, Blanchisseries, Brasso Seco, etc., the road condition is of one type. If you come down into rural Trinidad and Tobago, or where we have land slippage because of mass movement, it's another type. So that surveying aspect is what we come out with. And then as a nation, we have a discussion. Are we prepared to spend now in this way? And where do I stand in the lineup? Because obviously we can't do everything all at once. You have to phase the approach to delivering services.
And speaking of the nation, in the last minute that we have, I want to give you the opportunity, because you started, I want you to finish off speaking to individuals, businesses, about their role in what it is you're trying to accomplish at this point in time, Minister.
Well, the first thing is to say that it's doable. It's not impossible. Value for money means coordinating resources efficiently. And if you can coordinate resources efficiently, there is a way to do it. I recall, by way of example, when I came in as Attorney General in 2015, there was a long, loud cry. We need night court, we need night court. You notice we don't need night court again? Because we added processes. We took the same number of magistrates, we digitized them, we put in rules of court, we went in and dealt with typologies, we took certain things out. That is exactly relevant to what we're doing in local government. What do we do? How do we do it? And where do I see myself in that picture? So I would like to tell people in Trinidad and Tobago, because we have a CPAP interest in Tobago, it is a doable mission. The data is going to demonstrate that it is a task that can be performed. How we coordinate the aspects is now upon us, because we are finally in a position where our local government reform can put it in the hands of the managers to carry this out. So it is not that this is something that is coming that could have been done all the while. The opportunity to do this, and why I'm speaking to you from the Parliament literally right now, we are wrapping up the debate on the local government reform. This is the key to getting this job done. And it is why the Prime Minister has fought so hard for this to be center stage, and why I'm very pleased to have my hands on the wheel for this part of the journey to make sure that local government transformation becomes a reality.
And that is part of the reason we also did not kind of stray into the idea or focus on local government reform, because of where you are, what you're doing at this point in time. It also opens up the opportunity for us to behave like Oliver Twist and ask for some more, which we will do in due course. But we want to thank you so much, Minister. And on behalf of the entire TGT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant. Thank you for joining us.
The winning numbers in the National Lottery online draws for Monday, 23rd May 2022. At 10:30 a.m., play away the number 29, Opium Man. Pick 2 the numbers 22 and 5 in that